Hello and welcome back to another part of Design Your Own Level tutorial. In the previous video, what we did is we created this glass display panel, and we want to get it now ready with just adding some of the details onto it, like the corners, as you can see in here, and then just the top piece. But there's a few things that I noticed when using this display. Primarily, you'll see that on the corners here, it warps a little bit. You can see it over here as well. Now, I went back into Blender to try and find out why it does that, and the only reason why I can see is because we cap off the end faces. And I've tried a lot of things. I've tried adding additional detail, but as you can see, if I do additional detail, then it does it to all the corners. And the only way I see to do it is to actually delete that face, and then you see that the detail is there. But now you're going to lose the side panel piece itself. But that's not really too much of a problem, because considering that we are going to add in these details separately as a separate model, what we can do is then add in the side of the glass panel also as a separate model, so it doesn't actually affect the side of the model. So I'm just going to quickly undo what I did there. Alright, and then I'm just going to join the screens together because we're not going to work on the UV screen anytime soon. I just want to give this like a full name. I'm going to call this display panel. There we go. And then what we're going to do, you select your display panel, you go into your edit mode, and as you can see, there it is, that horrible detail. We're going to just select the side face. You click on your face select, you right click on it, and then you push the P button and separate by selection. And now you can see that that face is actually still there, but it's a separate selection on its own. So it's a separate model on its own. And then what we're going to do is we're going to leave that as is. It's got its own name now, display panel 01. And I'm going to call this display detail. And then we're going to work from here. So what I'm going to do is duplicate this piece. I'm going to go into my edit mode. So you're going to have to jump back and forth between your side and, I think it's this side, and your front view continuously. I'm going to hold Shift D, and then I'm just going to hold Control while I drag off the detail. So now you can see that I got a duplicate of this, and we're going to work on both of these now. So essentially what I'm going to do with this piece is I'm just going to select it, go back into my vertex select mode, and I think I'm going to shrink it down, just bring it up by pushing G and then holding Control and dragging it up, and then to roughly about there. And then I'm going to push Control R, and I'm going to cut it, let's say, because we have a width of roughly, that's actually a width of 3 units, but because we're at a strange angle, so I'm going to just bring it down like that. So we have a width of 3 units for this piece over here. And then I'm just going to push the numpad period key, then it will center the view on the piece we're working on. And then I'm just going to select it, all 4 of those sides, go into the front view, we're going to go into the wireframe mode, and then we'll see that we have it 4 units in length, as you can see there, 4 units in length. So I'm going to extract this to 4 units. Okay. Before that, I should have probably have made this one a little bit thicker, but we can go with it, and I'm just going to hit Control R. Then also go with roughly about 3 units. Should be there. And I'm just going to delete this bottom piece and then extract this piece. Also 4 units. Then we're going to hit Control L to select everything linked, and then I'm just going to move it, still holding Control, so that we kind of like snap to the grid space over there. Okay, so now we have it about the same width as the oh well, it's going to cover that part over there, but now we need it the same width. You can see the normals are inverted, so once again, if your normals are inverted, just have an open face there, so I'm just going to close it. You just select everything. You can push Control N, or here under Mesh there's a options recalculate outside. Okay, so that is that part, but now we want it as a little bit thicker than the glass panel itself. So if we go into the side view, I think I'm just going to add one additional unit to it. So I'm actually just going to hit S to scale on the y-axis, and then we're just going to scale like that. And we can test it out. Only thing, this one is going to get in the way, so I'm just going to select the link and I'm just going to hide it, because we're going to use it later on, but we don't need it for now. So I'm just going to select that and then move it over. And now if we go into the side view, you'll see that, okay, it covers the panel perfectly. It gives like a little bit of an edge over it. And that looks pretty good, but that looks more like a frame itself. So we might still want to make it a little bit thicker. So I'm just going to hit S to scale on the y-axis, and we're going to make it slightly thicker. The reason why I want to make it thicker is because then I can go into my edit mode. I'm going to select these edges, and then I can hit Control B to bevel. We can see what that looks like. That doesn't really look any better, so we're going to skip on the bevel with that one. I think what I want to do with this is, if you can see on that panel, it's got like a corner that just kind of like splits it off. So we're going to do that. I'm going to go back into my vertex select mode. I'm going to hit Control R, and I'm going to drag this. You'll see that's about 3 units and a bit apart. And we're working on strange grid spacing now, unfortunately, due to the fact that our panel is not really centered properly on our grid. So if you go off grid with this, it's perfectly fine. Don't worry about it. It's not going to cause any real issues. Okay, so now I'm going to actually just go into face select mode, and I'm going to delete these 2 faces. Go back into vertex select mode, select this one, and this one, and hit F. Go to the opposite side, this one, hit F, and then into my wireframe mode, select all 4 of these, and hit F. And now I still notice that we still have the seams marked from when we copied it, so I'm just going to select everything, Control E, and clear all seams, because we're going to create seams for it later on, and we don't want anything to interfere with it now. So now you see we got our corner. It looks pretty good. This is probably a side that we're going to leave flat shaded. The one thing that I want to mention is that you're going to have to judge for yourself what type of sides you want flat shaded or smooth shaded. If I could just bring up an example quickly, I think it might be over here somewhere. See, we still have all our models nice and tidy. So I'm just going to like show you here. I noticed when I imported this entire mesh, I smooth shaded it, and then the top piece over here didn't reflect properly inside of Unreal. So I select the center vertex, I hold Control and push plus, and then I flat shaded. Where's the option over here? Alright, there we go. There's this shading option, faces, and I just hit flat shaded. Then you see it makes it nice and smooth. And just quickly to show you in Unreal Engine that is what it looks like when it's flat shaded. If it's smooth shaded, it's going to come out something warped like this at the top as well. So you need to kind of judge what you want to do. Smooth shading obviously works for like this glass panel, because this is a round panel. It goes around a bend. And well, we want that. It's not like it's one singular face. It's multiple faces that bend around the curve. So that's just a quick tip. You kind of need to judge what you want to use smooth shading or flat shading for. So, alright, so now we're just going to get back to this one over here. So that is essentially our corner panel complete. We can actually, maybe we can bevel these corners and see what that looks like. Alright, see, that looks a little bit better than beveling the inside corners. So we can go with that. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to select these. Actually, I want to go into edge select mode, otherwise it's going to select all of these edges in between as well, which we don't want. And remember, you hold Alt and right click, and then you can select everything in like the straight line. And then hit Control B. Going to just judge where we want it to go, and then we're just going to roll the mouse wheel twice, and then we have like a smooth corner over there. Alright, so this entire area here, those I'm going to select smooth shading on. We're going to smooth those faces out. And actually, that one, flat shading, and this one, flat shading. Okay, so we can also then just select the other faces as well, and we're going to make those flat shaded as well. So it all really depends on how you want this to look. So actually, I think this corner we might bevel it because you want it to look smooth. So I might just do that and add 2 units onto it and quickly see what happens if we smooth it. Alright, so it looks a little bit better than what it did before. I'm happy with that. So essentially we just like flat shaded everything. So what that would mean is if we apply a reflective surface onto it, that will look like perfectly smooth or perfectly flat shaded, and that will look smooth shaded. So we can do everything flat or smooth shaded. We're just going to go back and forth until we actually see what looks proper inside of Unreal Engine 4 for us, for our look that we're going for. Okay, so now that we actually have all these panels like worked out the way that we want, we can just go and okay, I don't want to duplicate that piece, so I'm just going to hold this and select all of those, hitting Shift D, and I'm going to scale this on the -Z axis by 1, and then you can just kind of like position it the way that you want it. But first, before we're actually going to go through with that, I don't know if this model, this isn't really going to be one of those models that will need a lot of faces. You're not going to like put text on this or anything. It's going to be not faces, UV, correct the UVs, because you're not really going to put on a lot of detail on it. So what we can quickly do is we can just UV unwrap this. I'm just going to hit Control L and select everything, and I'm going to get push U and just click on Unwrap. And we're going to split off our area just to see how that look like, and we're going to select the UV image editor. And that looked terrible, so the one reason is actually it's using our stretch out display texture, so we're just going to create like a new UV map for this. And I'm going to make it fairly small, 512 by 512. I'm going to call this display corners, and just click OK. Okay, for some reason, corner says. Okay, it's not really going to matter. I'm not going to use a texture for this. I'm just going to use the UV space. So rather than go with the normal unwrap, I'm going to go with the Smart UV project. And okay, that actually looks pretty good. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to use as is. I'm just going to select this one and rotate. No, I think I'm going to leave it as is. I'm just maybe going to bring this a little bit closer, or maybe just put it in a different location. This one I'm going to put over there, and then these I'm going to put over there, so that our glass panels are still going to come in here, so we can put them here, our side of our glass panels. Okay, so now we got UV maps for this particular area. So now if we duplicate it and move it to every corner, our UV maps will be mirrored, and we can be happy about that. So, alright, so now I'm just going to join these two areas together. I'm going to go into the front view, and I'm just going to copy all of these, scale it on the -Z axis by 1, and just invert its normals. There we go. And then I'm going to select both of these, Control L, Shift D, scale on the x-axis. Remember, it's always scale. You push S to scale, you push X to scale on the x-axis, and then you push -1, and it will turn it like that. I'm just going to move it to over there, and I'm going to rotate it R 90 degrees. Okay, maybe zoom in a bit more because we need closer detail. Here we are. So now you can see, now we just want to get it positioned. So grab on the y-axis, and we're just going to position it over. Now we just need to compare the two to make sure that we have them on the right positions. I think this one actually needs to move in just a little bit more. There we go. Then we're going to go into the front view, and I'm just going to look at these. It's about midway through that cut, and go into the side view. Okay, I need to move it maybe a little bit up. Okay, grid snapping is not really helping us, so we're just going to grab on the y-axis and move it up like so. I also think that it's not quite centered at the top here, so we're going to grab it on the y-axis, grab it on the x-axis. So once again, grid snapping isn't really going to matter too much for the side panel because of the way that we set it up. And then I'm just going to hit Control N to recalculate those ones normals. I need to do one more thing, which is going to be selecting this face, which we haven't split off yet. There we go. And hit P and separate by selection, so that it also gives us a nice smooth corner over there as well. Then what I'm going to do is select the face again, but this time in object mode. And I'm going to select those objects and make sure that everything, including that side, is selected. And I'm going to hit Control J to join them. So now if we go into edit mode, you'll see that all of them have become part of one mesh. So essentially that is this part done. There's just one more thing. If you can recall, it's got like a display panel at the top here. So I'm going to grab these 4 faces, and then you kind of want to go into like a 45-degree view angle. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to select our front view, and then we're going to push numpad 4. I think you push it 3 times, and then we rotate the camera by 45 degrees so to actually get a proper view here. I'm going to hit Shift D, and then I'm going to hit P and separate by selection, and then you'll see that we have the separate selection here. And then still in the side view, I'm going to scale this up. I'm just going to select everything in edit mode, hit S to scale, scale it up, then E to extrude. Okay, it doesn't want to allow me to extrude down all the way. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's go into the top view and just kind of see if we got it. Somewhat, not quite. Let's just go back to its original scaling. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the side edges by selecting Edge Select Mode. I'm going to grab it and then just move it out 2 units. And this one I'm going to do the same. Grab it and move it out 2 units. And then we can go into our front view, select it. I'm going to move it. See, when you're in the side select view, when you're in a randomized view, you don't really get grid snapping all that well. So we're just going to have to play this by eye. And then move it up, E to extrude, E to extrude. Okay, so there we go, we got the first part of it. Normals are inverted, so we just need to do Control N. And then we can start playing around with the sizes that we want here. So first of all, I think I'm going to select everything at the top here. Okay, it's not playing along with me, there we go. And I'm actually going to move that down. But I'm going to go into the Edge Select mode. Select all the outside edges, and I am going to bevel them and give them round corners at the top. Alright, so that looks pretty good. And then I'm actually going to do the same with the bottom ones over here. select all the outside ones, Control B to bevel, give it 2 rolls there. You see, okay, that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to actually go into the vertex select mode, select all these bottom ones, and then move them up, because we don't actually need them to have all that additional detail. So that one as well. There we go. And now we kind of got like a corner display over there, but you want to add some additional details onto these. Over here, it's got different colors for every one. The way that they did that, basically, I can assume that they used a normal texture on it, and they just painted it different colors. We can do that when we do the UV unwrapping. We can actually paint it different colors if we wanted. We could paint that one and that one a different color. But now we need to kind of get something similar to that middle part that they had. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to hit Control R, and then I'm going to use holding Control and then just drag it into the center. And then the same over here, get them to roughly the same spot. There we go. Then I'm going to select these bottom faces or vertices. And then I'm going to hit E to extrude, and I'm going to drag those down. So you see we kind of got like a little panel, maybe a bit big. So I'm just going to move that back up as such. So it's just like a little corner at the bottom. And then they have a little red dot right in the center. Now, for the most part, people will think that, okay, that is a dot that is part of the model or part of the texture. You don't have to make it part of the texture. What we can do is we're going to the top view. We hit Shift C to center. We're going to hit Shift A. We're going to add a circle. And we're going to do the fairly small circle, so we'll do it with 8 edges, I think should be enough. There we go. Enter, and then I'm going to grab the circle, move it to around about there. Go into the side view, and I'm just going to rotate it by -90 so that it's upright. And then pretty much position it where it's over there, scale it down, and I'm going to go into the top view, rotate it. So we're going to rotate it -45. You see there it lines up. Okay, so now that we have the circle, we're just going to go into the front view and then scale it down. Okay, and now we just need to position it where it needs to be. I'll put it roughly about there. And we're not going to have it well, it's not going to just be on top. What we're going to do is we're just going to extrude it so it goes through, and we're going to select these faces and E to extrude and Alt M to merge at center. And there we go. And we got our little red dot. And we can join all of these together. Okay, so let's first select that one, hold Shift and select that one. I am in object mode, and then right click, select those, and hit Control J to join them. Alright, now this one has got a whole bunch of seams still marked on it. I don't want those. I'm going to select it and hit Control E and clear the seams. And now I noticed as well that when we fixed it up last time, it would seem that I didn't properly move all the edges up. So I'm just going to go into, select those in the back, go into side view, just grab them and then just move them up. Not quite agreeing with me here. So just play that by eye, I guess. There we go. See, alright, so that looks okay, that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. Now I'm just going to split off my area again, go into my UV image editor, select all of these, and then I'm going to hit U and Smart UV project everything. Now I just need to see if it did actually grab both panels. Face select mode, select that panel. Okay, see that panel still got that UV space on it, so I need to switch that back to the display corner sys. And then this one, it's also got the display glass set as its basic, so just need to select those and also go to display corner sys. And then if we look at it, we're going to hit UV, Smart UV project again. And then we should have everything. If I select here now, there we go, select here, there we go, select over there. I'll accept that I think we hit this one edge, there we go, we hit it away. That is why it didn't actually help. So I just need to select it as well, and finally, I think this is going to be the final one, there we go. So everything is nice and neat. I'm going to go with these UV maps. Then we are just going to do one more thing. We're going to apply a separate material to each of our areas. So the first one here, we're going to go into our, because they are not joined together as one model. So we can actually just go to the materials, click new, and that will be the material for that one. And then for this one, do the same, materials and new, and they should work together. So if you hold shift and we select both, we could go export. Actually, I just want to see, yeah, I did give different material names. Okay, so we're going to hold shift and select both, hit file, export, FBX, all our settings are still the same, selected objects, geometries on edge detect, and then armature, disable leaf bones. And I think we called the previous one display final, so we're going to just export over that. We're going to jump over to Unreal. I'm going to delete this display and then delete it again inside of the content browser. I'm going to hit import and display final. I'm going to open it, import it. I just want to make sure, okay, it's got its two different settings for materials. We already set up the one material, so I'm just going to go over to my materials tab. There's our glass panel. Now you can use this glass for any other material that you want, so it really doesn't matter. Set it that one. Okay, that's the wrong one. We didn't need to set it the top one, it's the bottom one. There we go. Then I'm just going to use our generic black material, and I'm going to select it for the top one. Later on we're going to make a proper texture for it, but we want to test this out and just see what it looks like. So now if we drag it into our world, there we go. And remember our scaling, 1.25, 25, 25. So let's quickly hit play and see what that looks like. Okay, so the only thing that it applied a material to that we didn't want was the side corner, but I have a different plan for that. I want to actually use texture masking later on and then apply an emissive material to the side, so it kind of looks like the display is being captured from this side and then displays inward. So for what our purpose is that we need it for now, this is actually perfect. It doesn't have any issues, but we are later just going to tidy up our material and just make everything look better. Now one thing that you'll notice, and this is actually has to do with when we import our model, it's collision volume. So now you'll see that I cannot actually get closer to this display. This is about as far as I can get. So in order for us, I'm just going to close this one off. Just type in quit. In order for us to fix that, we need to go into our display, the model itself. We go to collision, and then we'll see, oh, this is how it calculated collision. So a way for you to fix that is then convex decomposition. We can just move this up. I'm just going to move it to 32 and click apply. And that should actually fix our corner a little bit better. There we go. So now we can actually just get closer to our display. So if I click save and if I click play now, I can almost touch it all the way in the corner itself. So that's just collision volumes that we haven't dealt with yet. But now, as you can see, our display looks perfect. The side corners look perfect. They don't do that warping on the sides because of the smooth shading. So this is our display pretty much done. And if we go over and we display it in the center of our view as such, and if I bring over the mirror's edge video, you can actually start to compare the two quite nicely. Alright, so that actually brings us to the end of this tutorial. The only other thing that we can still do is we can add like little latches to make it hang from the roof on the side corners, but I'm not going to do that. That we're going to leave for like the final video when we're going to do touch-up work. This display is essentially done, except for one or two minor tweakings. So what we're going to do in the next video is we're going to get a video to display on this corner over here. That's going to be a fairly easy process, even though it might seem hard, it's not. So if you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't, you can leave a dislike. Please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.